Well, welcome everyone to another of our summer series, Summer of Self-Love. I am Erica Voell. I'm a decision mentor and inner trust guide, and I write the Unfolding Substack and host the Unfolding Letters from the Middle of Becoming podcast. And I am so glad to welcome you to today's Summer of Self-Love conversation. In these conversations, we're exploring women's relationships with themselves, the inner critic, and their relationship to self-love. And the Summer of Self-Love is a continuation of women trusting themselves. We know our inner voice is just as important as our outer voice, and we know that when we feel good inside, that translates into confidence inside and how we express ourselves, and then it also ripples out into our relationships with others. And today, I'm so excited to welcome Dr. Sam Graber, who writes the Strong Over Skinny Substack. Welcome, Sam.
Thank you. Hi, Erica. So great to get to meet you in real animation here.
Yeah.
I've been following you for a while and I just absolutely love it. And I love the series and I'm honored to be part of it. Thank you.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
So tell us about who you are and what brought you to Substack.
Yeah, well, I'm Sam Graber. I am a retired chiropractor, a mother, a friend, a confidant, all this wildly diverse person in one envelope. And I have a lot of opinions. I have a lot of insights. I have a lot of experience and wisdom to share. And I had been writing on LinkedIn for years, and I've been on YouTube for years, and I kept hearing so much about, you got to shorten things up and do these reels and get all the Instagram and everything. And I don't want to do that. So Substack just fit me naturally. And I'm so happy to be here. I find that the people here are thinkers. Like I'm a deep thoughts kind of person, like Stuart Smiley. I'm a deep thoughts kind of gal. And I like to kind of get into things. And I want to be able to follow those thought lines, and I find Substack's fun to do that. Good place.
Yeah, I love Substack so much. I love that I don't have to edit myself down to, it used to be what, it was 140 characters at one point.
Oh, can't do that. Yeah.
No.
Not even possible. Not even possible. But yes. Yeah. Same here.
So welcome. And I just want to say, I really appreciate you sharing so openly and honestly your story about self-love and learning to love yourself and your vulnerability through that as you shared this summer. So I want to go back a little bit. If you overheard yourself 20 years ago talking to a friend the way that your inner critic talked to you back then, what would you have what would you think? What would you have thought?
Yeah, 20 years ago, I was in the thick of, motherhood and career and navigating, relationship that was kind of on the downside with my then husband. So it would have probably been, man, she's got a lot going on, like she's barely holding it together. She's trying to look like she's got it all together, but girl ain't got it together. That's probably what, someone what that inner critic kind of would have been saying is you're masking yourself, you're trying to put on a front, but at that point that was literally just holding it all together. So
yeah. So what was your inner critic saying at that point?
Yeah, that's gosh, it's hard to kind of think back. She was probably like, literally just hold it together, woman, you've got to get through this. That's more than likely, like, if I could kind of rechannel that time, because it sounds like something I probably would have been either actively thinking, or that could have been that subconscious kind of saying, I remember, now I do remember saying to someone, I don't have the luxury of a breakdown right now. Because I remember now that I'm sitting here talking with you, I remember a conversation where someone was asking me, how are you doing? What's all going on? And it was like a point where things were really just a lot. And I remember now it's coming to me to something about, I don't have the luxury of a breakdown. So it's like, I literally can't fall apart. I have to keep it together. Yeah. Ooh, that's how that came up.
Oh, that's powerful. I have chills. So tell us how you learned to talk that way to yourself. Like, were there women around you that would talk about themselves in the same way when you were growing up, or were there messages that you got from family or teachers or friends
Yeah, I
even?
think it's probably all the things, kind of like what I wrote earlier in this series, where I was the gal that was doing the things. I was getting my doctorate. I was always seemed like I had a lot going on and like I was handling it all. And then I modeled that after my mom because she was my role model, and she was a hard worker. She was in the medical field. She pulled a lot of things together and kept it together.
Mhm.
Was accomplishing, and I think that's just kind of what I learned. And then my intelligence was something that I got rewarded for with school, grades when you're young, and then that just kind of I liked that feeling, I guess, and I like figuring things out. I love solving problems. And so I think that I kind of saw that that was a way to navigate through the world and, now that I've done so much more studying and work on myself, I know that was acceptance and belonging and, all the things that we really long for, but God forbid we talk about it, except for in,
Mhm.
situations like this. And then, in my work and in your work, we talk about it every day with people, but
Yeah.
it's not a typical conversation, you know, in most people's regular world.
And I mean,
Yeah.
I remember those days of like I'd get the good grades and my parents would talk to me about like, "Oh, you did so great and you're so
Mhm.
smart," and all this stuff, and like not
Feels good.
realizing what a dopamine hit that was for me.
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I would love to know, like, okay, so you went through medical school or getting your doctorate degree, and your mom
Yeah.
was in that field too. So, like, was there someone that saw you differently than what you believed in yourself? And what did they see in you, and what did that flip for you?
Hard to say because it was, like when I was growing up, I didn't have a lot of adults around me. I had a lot of
Mhm,
school and teachers and whatnot, but it was just my mom. So I don't think I can kind of think back because I got a lot of reward for good grades, and going to school, and I mostly hung out with when I was in high school and in college. It was coaches. Coaches might have been someone who saw something different, but I can't really recall back to that. You
mhm.
know,
'Cause sometimes I
yeah.
know for me, it was that I met a coach, it's been
Mhm.
8 years ago, and she saw something in me that I could not see in myself because I was in such a place where I
Yeah,
was like,
gotcha.
I I didn't think I had a lot to give, and she saw this light in me, and I was like, "Oh, I do have
Yeah,
something." Yeah.
gotcha. Yeah,
So so since you didn't have that sense of, like, that things were you said that you didn't have time for things to break down for you. Like,
oh, yeah,
when would did you start to see that, like, you did have time for that and it was okay for you? And
yeah,
when did you start to see yourself differently, and how did that come up for you?
sure. Well, I think for so many years, I was literally just still keeping it all together.
Mhm.
But then perimenopause hit, and that girl doesn't mess around. So I got to that point where it was life just literally it had to crumble. Life was crumbling around, and I, of course, this is my work, so I've done the deep dive of, what's going on behind the curtain because I like to understand things. So as I learned more about what was happening physiologically, and then paired that with some of the mother wounds, the father wounds, like all of these wounds that I've been literally just stuffing down, that's when it started to hit. And I was like, oh, okay. Perimenopause is the great unveiling and allows you to really
Mhm.
show up. And I could surrender into this, or I could drink myself to oblivion, or I could, try to medicate with something, which was not the way I wanted to go. And so
Mhm.
it kind of became that mantra of I can either try to keep fighting this or I can just go through it and come out the other side because I'd done a lot of reading about, the metaphysical side of menopause, and the
Mhm.
wisdom, and I'd read a lot of well, wise women's work, not just the physiology, but more the emotional, the psychological, and it just started to put so many things together for me. And so when I realized, okay, it's not not me doing something wrong. Because of course, this inner perfectionist has to come up and, I'm not doing this right. Like, why is this seeming to be so hard? And this was about 8, 10 years ago that I started, that transition, and no one was talking about it. Now
Hmm.
it seems everyone's talking about it. But at that point, I really didn't have that. And I didn't have any real confidants, that would sit and take time to talk about it. So you
Hmm.
just kind of figure it out as you go along. And that's not the greatest way to go. So that was really a
Hmm.
turning point for me in my career of, and I've written about this extensively. And one time I wrote, if I just get through this, I swear I will not let any other woman suffer like I have, because there's no need for it. The
Hmm.
more I will, to the day I die, I will say this mantra of, the better we understand ourselves, the better we can care for ourselves. And that
Hmm.
goes across the entire spectrum, whether it's physical, emotional, psychological, spiritual, all of
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. And I was talking to somebody yesterday and she asked me, she's like, what do you wish somebody had told you about perimenopause? And I was like, that what the
Oh.
heck it was. Like,
Yeah, that it's like a thing.
I didn't,
Yeah,
I did not
yeah,
know
yeah.
until about 2.5 years ago that like there was a thing called perimenopause. I had a hysterectomy.
Mhm,
I thought, oh,
mhm.
I've gone through it,
Yeah,
because I just stopped bleeding. Okay, fine. But I had no idea that there was a whole psychological side to it. I had no idea. And I asked my mom, and she's like, well, I think they put me on hormones and I don't really remember it. And I thought, how do you not remember? But now I can't remember what I did yesterday.
yeah.
So
That's
okay,
funny. Yeah,
maybe
that's kinda
shouldn't,
like
but
yeah,
nobody talked about it. And then to learn that there's like more than just physical things happening to us, that there's a spiritual side to it. Like, oh, that really rocked me 2 years ago. I was like, I had no idea about this.
mhm. Yeah. Yes, and it's not, there's still a lot of mystery around it too, and there are people with opinions, and then, of course, there's, someone trying to sell you some supplement or something or other, some salve that, is gonna make it all better, and I don't think there's any substitute for just sitting with ourselves, asking ourselves, becoming curious about what our body's trying to tell us, being willing to kind of go there when you have support around you of, revisiting some things. Because but for
Mhm.
me, it was like the physical side was, yeah, the periods got wonky and, maybe some brain fog. But for me, a lot was the emotional stuff, was like, hey, like it was coming out to fight.
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
like, whoa, wait a minute. What is going on? I thought I dealt with that, right? Like
Mhm.
there was a lot of that.
Yeah. Yeah. I burned out and I had no idea why.
Totally.
I thought, oh,
Yes.
well, it's just because I'm not sleeping enough, or I'm not doing this, or I'm not doing that. I had no
Yeah.
idea that it was like I was working against my whole way of that I'm designed, whole way of my
Mhm.
being. I was saying
Yeah.
yes because I thought I was supposed to. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So I think it comes to a point, and this was the shift for me, was just giving myself permission to be in the muck and be in it,
Mhm.
because again, I knew well enough that there was no way around it. Like you gotta go through it. And it doesn't need to be suffering either. So I was trying to figure out ways to support myself physically, chemically, with my food and with movement, but not movement like I'd done before, which was CrossFit and,
Mhm.
things that were like, make you just a puddle of goo at the end and you think, oh, got a good workout. But the more I learned about stress and how the perimenopausal shift can affect that, or is affected by stress,
Mhm.
it just made me realize that is just further depleting me.
Yeah.
So yeah, it becomes this point where just showing ourselves the kindness that we show literally everybody else.
Mhm.
And it was no longer just a nice saying. It was like you've got to, it's survival at that point. You have to do this, or the alternative isn't all that great.
Mhm. Yeah, and I want to acknowledge those of you that are here live, Trisha and Florence and Sheena and
Oh,
Sarah and
great.
Jackie. Thank you for joining us. It's so exciting to see your names. So, as you've done this work, as you've started to see yourself differently and allow yourself to hear that inner voice, that hear
Mhm.
that I I can take this time alone, I can listen to myself. Like, has anyone noticed you differently as you've done this work? Like, did they say anything? Did anybody say, did it just, or just in like how they treated you? For me, it was, did you get a haircut? And I'm like, no. Like, I'm
Yeah.
just like, I didn't
Bit
say,
different.
I'm doing some work on myself. Like,
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
So how did that show
Yeah,
up?
yeah, probably just more relaxed, not always working or charging hard or, working towards something like, I puddle or I fiddle around in my garden more. I'm just looking outside, like at the
Mhm.
flowers and, I do more of that. I take more time to just sit and just be instead of always moving. Like, I do recall at times, even in my practice where I would be just going from, room to room or the front of the office and just always moving, like a shark, you got to stay moving or you're going to drown kind of thing. It was
Mhm.
just always moving. And that was a compensatory factor. That was the way I was compensating or, outrunning my feelings.
Mhm.
If I stay busy and productive, I don't have to face that stuff. And that's another thing I've written on extensively too. It's me writing is part of I think my own therapy.
Yeah.
In a way, it's kind of getting it out there, processing it. Sometimes I hit publish, sometimes I don't. Sometimes I hit publish and then I hit unpublish. Because I realized like I got it out there and I'm good. I don't need it to be out there anymore,
Yeah.
which is a whole thing in and of itself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I leave them in draft for, I make
Yeah.
myself leave them in draft for a
Yeah.
night before I publish them. Unless that
I
I'm
love
like,
it.
this is so good, I have to get it out there, because if I let it sit, I'll be like, yeah, that's too scary. But there's some that I'm like, I got to get this out there now because it's good. But yeah, I
Yeah.
usually let them sit overnight, or a couple of
That's a
days.
good way to go. Yep. I hear
Yeah.
that. I hear that.
They usually get scheduled on Fridays and published on Mondays, so that like I
Oh,
have the
nice.
weekend to get
Yeah.
myself set.
It's a good way to do it. I like that. Yeah, and I think just sometimes, the process. I mean, there is something physical to writing, and my way of doing it is I'll write it my thoughts first, and then I kind of sit with it and be like, what's this trying to tell me, and then then write something. And I think that's part of me organizing my feelings, organizing my thoughts on something, um, you know, trying to find a cohesiveness to it.
Mhm.
And that's been something lately. Like I haven't written a lot this summer because I've really just been sitting and processing and writing. Like I'm looking at my desk because my desk is like there's I start writing this, I start writing that. But I think that's part of me giving myself permission to just be messy and just
Mhm.
let it sit there. Like, I'm not doing this for a grade. I'm
Yeah.
not doing this. Like, I love when I get engagement, but I'm not doing it to, like, I'm not making it mean like, oh, people read that and give me the heart. That means that's good or something like that. Like, I've completely changed the relationship there. What I'm hopeful for is, even when I'm just talking with friends and with other people, that there's just connection. That's all I'm looking for.
Mhm.
And even if it's just me connecting with myself out on paper, so to speak, I'm good with that now.
I love that.
Yeah.
So so often we take like self-love and sort of equals self-care is what we tend to think of.
Sure. Mhm.
And so we sort of they get tangled up.
Yeah.
But we know that, like, from what my research I've been doing this summer, I'm learning that like what self-love is not necessarily self-care, or what self-care is not necessarily self-love.
Sure.
And so what is something that you do daily
Okay.
that's like really practicing self-love for yourself, even if it doesn't look like self-love from the outside, or if it's not like, if taking a bath is a self-love thing for you, it can also be self-care. So what is something that you do daily to
Sure.
practice self-love for you?
Yeah, me is unless it's raining like crazy, and even when it's raining like crazy, I will find a little place on my front stoop that I can sit outside, and I because I just liked the outside energy. I need to be outside for a little while after waking up. It's kind of my way of welcoming the day, gathering myself, communing with nature a little bit. grounding myself, I guess. And,
Mhm.
and then there's some, benefits of it, uh, many benefits physically and psychologically and energetically. So like all of that together is just kind of my little, my little hug in the morning,
Mm.
and it's something I do every day, no matter what, even if I'm traveling, and that's my anchor, I guess you could say.
Oh, I love
Yeah.
that. I love that. As
Mhm.
you're saying that, I'm thinking, yeah, I need to get outside more. We have so
Yeah,
many
absolutely.
mosquito. We're in that season of mosquitoes.
Oof,
It's just like,
true.
no,
Yeah,
the
yeah,
outside is.
that is a challenge.
I go out with the dog, but sometimes I'm like, I just really don't want to get bitten today. But yeah, I love
One
that.
day
Yeah.
of not being
Yes.
somebody else's lunch. Yeah,
Exactly.
I hear that.
But yeah, oh, I
Mhm,
love that. I meditate, and so I face the sun
mhm.
coming through my window,
Yes.
and that's my
Yeah.
when I can't do it late in the day because it's just like I don't get that sunlight on my face,
There you
even if it's
go. I
filtered.
love
Yeah.
that. Mhm, mhm,
So we know a lot of women in perimenopause find that old patterns start to show up again, or that like even the old things that were we've done for years, like they stop working. So what are some patterns
mhm.
around self-love that you found yourself saying like, I'm not doing that anymore, or
Sure.
things that you did or patterns that you had?
Yeah. Well, the biggest one is I stopped drinking. I said,
Congratulations.
thanks. Yeah. It's like, I had to kind of check myself before I wrecked myself because it became
Mhm.
something like, oh, it's just wine. I mean, come on. It's just wine. It's a little wine. It'll take the edge off. And then it was kind of became a everyday thing. And then it became
Mhm.
a little bit more. And then it was, you know, easy to go through a bottle and then be able to say, there was a point where I had to get real with myself and realize that it was damaging me. Even though it was becoming much more socially acceptable. My gosh, everywhere you turn, Wine Wednesday, especially with women, right? We're gonna have a
Mhm.
wine night, we're gonna have a girls' night, we're gonna do this, and everything's about alcohol. Not everything. It's either food or alcohol or both. And I just realized like that was tanking me, and that was me robbing myself of my energy and my
Mhm.
life, literally, potentially. And it was just something I had to get real with myself, and couldn't keep justifying it, especially because I'm trying to do other things to, you know increase my health span and my lifespan and all these things. And then there was this one thing just holding me back from really feeling like I was fully present.
Mhm.
And so that it over the years, of course, I'd flirt with a dry January or a sober October. And then of course, when I knew I was pregnant, then didn't drink during that time. And I'd flirted with it. But this time, 2 years ago, my birthday was the last alcoholic beverage I had, and I just I don't miss it. And now I can, like, honestly say, like, I'm not a drinker. But for the longest time, it was kind of like, well, we'll see. We'll see. Like, I was enjoying the clarity. So I think that's the biggest thing. And then that has led to a lot of other, really, really great things for being
Mhm.
more present and, more sober to life, period.
Yeah, yeah, that's a big one. And
Mhm.
congratulations,
It was
that's
for me.
huge.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Thank you.
and you're
Yeah.
right, so much of women's social times are around alcohol, and if you don't drink for whatever reason, like, it can be this I don't wanna say it's a barrier, but sometimes it's like, I don't wanna go be social if all they're gonna be doing is,
Yeah.
seeing how many bottles of wine they're gonna finish in the night.
Sure. Yeah, and there's a point, like, now, and I'm sure I was this person in the past, but now, sometimes I'm out and I hear people talking and they're slurring and stuff, and I'm like, "Oh my
Uh-huh.
god, I was so that person." And I thought I was just so intelligent and, fun and witty, and I was probably just drunk. So,
Mhm.
gosh, and now and I don't sit in judgment of anyone else, because I know how I
Yeah.
was working through all that, and I know, when I was ready.
Mhm.
And it was not easy at first, because it's like part of the social fabric. And
Yeah.
But then it became easier. And now
Yeah.
like I say, I just really don't feel like I'm a drinker. Now
Mhm.
I don't need that nightcap or anything else. And I wake up every day knowing that I'm going to feel good.
Mhm.
It's a cool feeling.
Yeah, and I love trying to find the mocktails for when I have a
Yeah,
get
there's some good
together.
ones out there.
I'm like, "We're gonna have something with pomegranate, or we're gonna have something
Yes.
berries," and, like, squishing the berries up. It's so satisfying.
Yes, it really is. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's fun that our society is seeing that more, and I think
Mhm.
that's a really good thing.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So I have been identifying parts of human design that I know are related to self love, and they're really related to our relationships with ourselves. And I want to be clear with anybody who's watching this is not part of traditional human design. In traditional human design, there is one part that's related to self love, but this is my own
Okay.
interpretation.
Okay.
And so I would love to explore some pieces related to self love for you. And I want to know,
Sure.
like, I'm going to give you like what the inner critic might have said, and then how it showed up in your life, and then how maybe you've reframed it.
Hmm.
So the first, we're just going to go through, you have four parts of them.
Okay.
So we're going to go through them each individually. So the first one is related to body criticism. And the inner critic might have said, my body isn't good enough. If I looked different, I'm getting older. My body's holding me back. How did that show up for you?
Like how is it showing up now?
Or how
Or
has it shown up throughout your life?
yeah, throughout my life, like I'm a statuesque girl. Like I'm very tall, I'm very densely boned and muscled. So like I've always been what someone, if they look at the number, that I weigh, it's like, wow, that's a big number. But you look at me and you're like, I don't see that just because of what we assume. So
Mhm.
I've never been petite. I've not been that person that can wear like the cutesy little things. And so I think that was probably more, more what my mind would say is, I'm not cutesy or whatever. So when it came to fashion and whatnot, so that's probably it there. And then as things have changed, definitely I'm still strong, but I'm a different kind of strong. And that's,
Mhm.
Strong Over Skinny. My publication is about staying strong for independence because I do not want to be in a home or in a situation where I can't take care of myself or do some basic things for myself. So I think I'm pretty cognizant, and I do my work so that I can retain that.
Mhm.
But from an image, I've never seen myself as like this, blowy, more feminine kind of person. I'm more like jeans, a t-shirt kind of gal.
Yeah.
And so maybe that's some of it too, is part of that. But that's interesting to hear that come up. That's part of my design.
Yeah. So the
Mhm.
next one is about a
Mhm.
fear of inadequacy, that like I
Okay.
don't know enough. I'm not ready to share. I need more
Mm.
experience. Someone else is more qualified. How did
Mhm.
that show up for you? And how did you have you reframed it?
Yeah, I deal with that gal. We go 10 rounds quite often because again, I think some of it comes down to what we talked about earlier with me being the academic and really understanding and knowing. Sometimes the more I study something, the more I know I don't know. So it can be kind of paralyzing. Like, I'm sure there's one more thing I should figure out about this before sharing. But now because I've really like physically and hormonally shifted into my wisdom years. I've embodied that I am in my wisdom years, and the only way that wisdom is shared is by actively, whether it's writing or sharing like this or speaking with someone directly or mentoring. So I really embody that I am in that wisdom stage of my life, and I want to share.
Mhm.
But I do get caught up very often with the more academic side of what I do, like with metabolic work and with the hormonal work. And yeah, so it is something that I'll over criticize something I've written, or I
Mhm.
may not say something that that I probably could illuminate upon, but also, and I won't go there, but there's a whole politics thing, and then there's the are you with this? There's so much duality going on
Yeah.
that sometimes I'm just like, man, I'm going to just protect my peace. Whereas maybe previously in my life I would have gone toe to toe with someone on something, and now I'm like,
Mhm.
am I really going to change their opinion? And is that what I want? No.
Yeah.
So why hurt? Why hurt myself? you know,
Mhm.
no one else is going to guard my peace like I will.
Yeah.
So I think that
Yeah.
shows up. That
Yeah.
shows up, and I will edit myself still. So I'm trying to get better
Mhm.
about that.
Mhm. And I'm seeing that your profile is a 1-3, so there's that sense of like, I need to
Totally.
know more.
Yes, yes, and I think it's impossible to know more, there's just so
Uh-huh.
much, so it's learning how to synthesize it and speak it more often, and that's why the summer being really quiet has been good for me, and
Mhm.
now I'm, coming out of that cocoon and getting ready to start writing and sharing more. So,
Yeah.
yeah, it is interesting how
Yeah.
the 1-3.
I have that
Yeah.
one in my profile too, where I'm always like, "But I
Yes.
need maybe I need another certification. Maybe I need to this, I need that." And, like,
Yes.
I remember a coach telling me, she's like, "Erica, you don't need anything else. You already know
Yes.
enough. Like, just share
Yeah.
it." And I was like,
Yeah.
"But
I
but"
know. Oof, yes.
Yeah.
But you don't understand. Yeah.
Uh-huh. Yeah. My daughter jokes that I know she's
Uh-huh.
like, "Mom, you know almost everything." And I'm like, "I don't know everything, but I was a librarian for 19 years. I know how
Oh,
to find
really?
information about everything."
Oh, see, now that is a happy, healthy skill to have. Good. Oh, that's neat. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, but
that's
I don't know everything and don't think I do.
and we can't. And we
No,
can't. Yeah.
no. So another part that shows up for you is related to, self-worth, and there's this feeling of, "I have to prove myself," or "Someone else is doing better than me," or "I'm
Mhm.
falling behind," and that I need to earn my worth. How did that show up for you,
Mhm.
and how have you reframed it?
Yeah, well, that one is probably, still something I spar with, and it's not so much worth that I don't feel that I'm unworthy of happiness or joy or abundance or anything. It's more, putting yourself out there and facing rejection, but I know that it's not rejecting me as a person. It's just
Mhm,
something that, either someone doesn't want it or it's not the right time or whatever it might be. So sometimes I can definitely get in my head about it. But I've
mhm,
gotten a lot better about, separating myself from the work and understanding and really wanting to just attract people that are ready,
mhm.
because I feel like the work I do is something that could absolutely benefit every human being, but not everybody's ready for it. So
Yeah,
it's like, how do I get my messaging and my, what I say out there where it hits them when they're ready to really hear it.
mhm,
So I think that's more of where I go to now. Instead of
mm,
making it about me, it's more, how do I how do I help? How do I say things so that someone else, it will resonate and they'll go, "Oh, yeah," or it will repel them where it's like, "Oh, no, that's not my thing." Because
yeah.
both are great, both are fine, you know?
Yeah, and then that leads so beautifully into the next one,
Oh,
which
yeah?
is like,
Okay.
what if I'm wrong and I can't trust myself? Maybe I'm imagining it. Maybe I need more proof. So that's another
Okay.
one that shows up and it's like that
Yeah.
it can be that I don't trust myself.
Okay. Yeah, that would have been, maybe 10 years ago when I separated myself from my actual chiropractic practice and got more
Mhm,
into the metabolic side, nutrition, energetic work, working in that facet. That I definitely had a lot of that. What if I'm wrong? Or, what if this is all like, what if I'm following someone who's a scammer? you know, because I've
yeah.
definitely have done that a time or two where I'm like, oh, that sounds so exciting and so interesting. And then, I join their program or something and it's a big farce or it's, some sort of scammy thing. So there's probably been a little bit of that. But
Mhm,
now I'm just really learning to trust myself and allow myself to fail and make a mistake. And, I always tell my clients, it's like, I'm helping you figure out you. I don't have all the answers. Kind of like your librarian role of, I know where to find a lot of things, and I know a lot of the good, great foundations of how the body works, how this evolution comes along, but I can't sit and tell you exactly what's going on. We're partners in this.
Yeah.
I help people figure things out and solve their own mysteries. And that's where I think that wise woman and that kind of like a doula, like you're
Hmm.
helping someone transition through that. And that's where I feel that my role, that's what really calls me now.
Mm.
I don't diagnose anymore. I don't have to do all that stuff now that I'm retired from practice. So I had to, it took me a while to really separate myself from that particular identity and the responsibility that came with it. The neat thing now is I still have all that education, all that experience, but I don't operate within the medical space anymore. So
Hmm.
it's really pretty great. It's a great place to be working from. It's just trying to translate to some people, what that difference is can be challenging because
Hmm.
we've been conditioned to outsource our decisions and our health to someone in a white coat. But I try
Yeah.
to say, if you have to, wear that white coat while we're talking because you're the you're the doctor. You're the one that knows it all about yourself. And now it's just, we're just working to tap into what you already know about yourself.
Hmm.
So that's been a fun shift.
Yeah. And as a client and a patient of like who's gone through a lot of health issues, like
Mm-hmm.
I remember somebody saying, like, how do you feel about this? And I was like,
Yes.
I don't know. But then it also, when I have gone to doctors now, I'm questioning them and they're like, they're not used, they're used to working with older people who don't question anything.
Sure.
And they're like,
Yeah.
what do you mean? Why are you
Yeah.
asking me that question? Like, just
Hmm.
take what I'm telling you and just do it. Like,
Yeah. It's a different landscape.
uh-huh.
So I often look at my role as now helping someone bridge that gap because we still do need to have, if you have insurance and you want to utilize that, you still have
Hmm.
to navigate a very broken system. It's very broken.
Yeah.
It is such a misnomer to call it health care. It's
Hmm.
sickness care because they
Hmm.
don't know what to do with health. If you're healthy,
Yeah.
they're like, okay, see you next year. Let's see if we can find something to diagnose and treat.
Yes.
It just
Yes.
it's asinine. And unfortunately, we all look at that like that's the only way, but it's not correct. You
Hmm.
know, Getting someone in tune with themselves, helping them understand what all that gobbledygook, all those numbers on their lab work, like what it means.
Hmm.
That's that's that is so empowering. And to see that light go on for people is just the most rewarding thing I get to do now.
I love that. I'll never
Yeah.
forget working with a woman who had done, she did macrobiotics cooking
Mhm.
and had been trained in traditional Chinese medicine. And she introduced me to
Mhm.
some things. And I was like, that is, oh, homeopathics. And I was
Mhm.
like, that is so fascinating. Why are
Yeah.
we not, why have I been given all these medicines that have made me sick,
Yeah.
more sick? Like, it just
Yeah.
was such a mind blowing thing. And I was 28 and I was like, this is, why hasn't anybody told me about this? But then again, she lived in Australia and it was a completely different
Oh, that's
healthcare
sweet.
system
Yeah.
than the US and what we've grown up with. So, yeah.
Right.
So
Right.
tell us about what you are working on right now, Sam, in your
At the
business.
bottom, yeah, the foundation, I'm working on me. I'm working on my relationship with me, and as I do that, I get clearer and clearer on where I can really make a difference in people's lives.
Mhm.
So now, as far as like professionally, is that what you want to know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, yeah. Professionally, I'm helping people figure their own mysteries out. I've been playing with some messaging like health investigator and like things like that, like sleuth, because I literally look at it like I always loved anything mystery. Like I watch SVU and all those kind of shows and CSI. I loved that. I've always enjoyed solving a mystery. And so
Mm,
now I kind of, that's how I look at each person. And I get to kind of, I gather the evidence and I see, okay, what's going on here? What's going on there? What's missing from the evidence? And what's missing from their, what they are bringing to me. What do they know? What don't they know? And then that's where I love to chat and kind of figure out like, what is this person's gut sense telling them? So that's the work I get to do now. And I look at it like a strategic health plan. I help someone figure out where they are now, where they want to be, and sometimes they have just become so used to this system that beats them down, and just they just say, like, I just don't want to get worse. And then I have to help them dream a little bit, like,
Hmm.
what if it could be better? And what if you
Yeah.
could actually feel good in your body? And
Yeah.
I predominantly work with women, but I do work with men. But more often than not, the women are like, I did. It's been so long since I felt good. Like, I don't even
Hmm.
know what that would be. And I feel like I would just be disappointed if I got my hopes up. So
Mm.
I get to be the hope dealer. I
Oof.
get to help them. Yeah, I get to help them kind of dream and then do the things that will help them get there. So I
Oof.
do very intensive work. It's not like, here's a course, take it, I'll see you later, or I won't. It's like we link arms. It's a very intimate kind of relationship where I earn their trust and I keep it, I steward it, I help grow it. And then as I get to help them build their trust in themselves, that's when it's like, did you ever watch, what was it? David Carradine, the Kung Fu. It's like, try to take the pebble from my hand, and he couldn't do it. And then when he could take the pebble from his hand, it's time for you to go. Like,
Uh-huh.
that's how I know with my clients. When they come to our sessions, they're like, okay, doc, I has this and here's that. This is what I'm seeing. This is what I'm working towards. And I'm like, oh, it's time for us to figure out how to transition you and release you into the wild, sis, because
Hmm.
you've got it going. I will be here as a resource, but it's always my goal for them to be 100% independent and know how to navigate the world,
Mm.
on their own. Because medical space it is shark infested waters, and there's just no question about that. And I used to be meek and fearful of saying things like that, but
Hmm.
now I think because of social media and because of YouTube, and I see what some people are saying, I'm like, wow, they're really saying some stuff that I totally feel. But because I was a licensed professional for so long and I would have had my ass handed to me, I never said stuff like that. But now I'm kind of like, I'm feeling a little more emboldened. So who knows
Yeah.
what I'll say next? And I'll never say anything I don't truly believe, and that I don't have the receipts or the research to back it up.
Uh-huh.
I'm not like that. I'm not an inflammatory kind of person. Pretty grounded. So I know when I'm going to say things that it is true to me and it's from my heart.
Hmm.
So the more I trust that, the more I'm like, just get it out there. People need to hear this.
Yeah. Yeah. And I was
Mhm.
just reading an article this morning where she was talking about like within 5 minutes on Instagram, she's a
Uh-huh.
Pilates teacher, and she's like, I got three different things about seed oil, that it's like poison,
Oh,
that it's the best thing. And she's like, and then there was the middle, and she's like,
yeah.
we are not inundated with too little information. We're inundated with too much information. And what do we
Yes.
believe? And who is the expert? And are the
Yes.
experts? She's like, no wonder people are are confused.
Yes. Oh,
Yeah.
yes. Yeah. And you've got to, separate the marketing from the research,
Yes,
right?
that's the other thing she was talking about.
99 is percent is marketing, and it's
Yeah.
just good marketing. That's all it is.
Mhm.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. So that's where I get to hang out now. And I'm always open for my evolution. Like, I want to keep growing and learning, and not just to get another certificate, although, those are fun. But I'm looking more now to kind of, I don't know, streamline. Like, I feel like I have
Mhm.
so many interests and I love my interests and I want to keep that. But as far as like professionally, I want to, and I'm kind of working on my own methodology, for lack of a better word, and like, what have been the absolute absolutes throughout a 30-year career. And
Mm.
there's a handful of things that these are your anchors for your health. If you can nail those and master those, you probably knock out 90% of the problems. And it's like, so those are the things that I really want to help people
Mhm.
learn and do for themselves.
Mhm. Mm. I
Yeah.
love this. So,
Yeah.
one question I ask all of my
Mhm.
podcast guests and Substack.
Yeah.
So, what is one unwritten rule of midlife that you would like to rewrite?
Only one? Okay, let's think. One, because there's a few. One unwritten rule.
Or you can share
Um,
the two of,
I think,
several.
yeah, I think that it's all downhill from here. I think
Mm,
it's that one. And it's like, and I'm thinking, specifically coming to my visual right now is the fact that every commercial I see is about Botox in your face. It's always something on the outside, and that it's all downhill. Like if you don't keep this flawless look, or the 11s, and if all that stuff is erased, then you might be worthy of being seen, like that stuff. I think
mhm.
that just really chaps my hide, because I don't subscribe to that. I think all of our aging makes us interesting, so I think it'd be something along those lines of, it's all downhill from here. Like you're going to get weaker. You're going to you'll be less capable and less desired, and all that. So I
Yeah.
think, yeah, that one. If I had to choose one, I think that one, because it has
Mhm.
lots of little shoots off of it.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. How about you? What would you say for that one?
Mine is that like it's very similar that like we're
Mhm.
done. Like we are old and washed up. And I'm like,
Right.
no, I am not old and washed up. And then I am also not losing my mind. Like
No.
there's also
No.
that perception that women in midlife are like hysterical and losing their minds. And I'm
Oh,
like,
don't even get me started on this one, because
yeah.
I mean, I don't know where we're like, we'll be here for a while, because yes, that's one. I think that's where we actually find ourselves, because we start
Mhm.
coming out of that shell of doing all the things for everyone else. And oh yeah, yeah, no. And then plus there's real biology behind the fact that our brains are rewiring. It's
Mhm.
fascinating. It's called
Yeah.
pruning. So it's like all these nerves that we had going on, and like memorizing and remembering things that don't matter, our super intelligent brain goes, don't need that anymore. So it'll start pruning that stuff, and temporarily there's some glitches for sure.
Mhm. Yeah.
And that's where just shifting the mindset of course I'm glitching on that person's name. My brain is pruning right now. It's almost like I want a little, like a commercial thing that says, we'll be right back. Pruning, my brain is pruning right now, with that little boop.
Yes.
And I just try to giggle about that now, because yeah, for in the beginning, when I didn't really know what was going on, I was worried about like dementia, all
Same.
the things. I mean, yeah. And I know
Yes.
that's a very active thing in people's minds, because I talk to women every day about it. So when I get to
Mhm.
share, like, this is physiologically what's going on in the background, it's not just you. And
Yeah.
here's how you can support your brain better. That's
Mhm.
that's the big thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
So all that.
Yeah, and another one for me is that, like, you need to be
Yeah.
fixed. Like, the Botox ads, all the ads, I'm like, how to improve my favorite right now is I get this Tai Chi for walking,
Oh,
and
yes.
they're all like, "Here's what this woman looked like 30 days ago, and here's the other one now." And then I looked it up
It's
because I
all
was
AI
curious,
generated.
and it's
Mhm.
all AI, and I was like, "Seriously, now we don't even know what's real." Like,
Yeah.
it was hard
Yes.
before when they would have, like, a stand-in model that, and if
Sure.
they would do
Yeah.
the photoshopping, but, like, now we don't even know if it's a real person.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think that's where, conversations like this, and I thank you so much for it, and everyone who's here. So great to, be witnessed. Because I
Mhm.
think that's part of our experience too, is just being witnessed and
Mhm.
being seen, and to know that that energy is being exchanged, even when it is just digitally, like we have on, the computer. There's still an energetic exchange,
Mhm.
and that is a chemical exchange, and all of that, and that's so important. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
definitely hearing this is fun. I appreciate
Yeah.
you asking. Do you have any other little juicy nuggets you want to ask me, or how? How do you
No,
ever
that
wrap up things like this? Like, it's such an intimate conversation, and then just be like, okay, bye. What do you do?
I just tell you thank you so much. Like,
Yeah,
Sam,
okay.
thank you to everybody who showed up live, to those
Yes.
of you who are on the
Mhm.
replay, and Sam for sharing, so vulnerably and so honestly your journey and what you're doing now and all those things. So I really and I appreciate you so much for being part of our Summer of Self-Love, because
Thank you.
this started as like one thing, and it was something was said in a master class, and I was like, oh, I need to explore self-love this summer. But like when I
Mm,
invited everybody in and seeing
yeah.
everybody's answers and their interviews, I was just like, this is so much more than just me. So thank you for being part
Mm.
of this. I really appreciate
You're
it. And
welcome. You're welcome,
it's
and thank you for inviting me. I'm excited for you to see what all comes of it.
yeah, I have something that I'm working on that's so super special, and that I'll be releasing at the end of well, it's the end of August. It'll be the end of the
I
month.
know we're in
So,
August.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well,
Yeah.
good. Well, I'll keep my eye out. Yeah.
Yeah, and so I wanna thank you, I wanna thank everybody, and I don't what my one complaint about Substack Live is that I will hit end and, like, I won't get to tell you thank you for being here.
Okay. Oh,
Thank
is
you
that
for
what
being
happens?
here.
Okay.
This has been
Yes,
such
you're
a great
welcome.
experience and such a great conversation, and I really appreciate it. So,
Me
thank
too.
you so
Me too.
much,
Thank you.
and
Yeah.
everyone, will talk to you next week when I have another, Summer of Self-Love conversation coming up. So thank you, Sam. It was so good to talk to
Awesome.
you.
You're welcome. All right. Bye. And
Bye.
bye, everybody.